Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome freaking back. As you guys can see by the title and the thumbnail of this video, we are at already. I don't know how it keeps happening, how these months just keep going by and by and by. We're at the end of January, so I'm gonna do a little twist on our January wrap up. We're going to be doing what I actually read in January and kind of a confession video on how I read this month. So buckle in because this one's gonna be a fun one. So I said that I was going to read these books in January, and what I actually read were these. So I started out the month with Variation by Rebecca Yarros. This book was phenomenal. That book was phenomenal. I could not recommend that book enough. I loved everything about that book. Our freaking characters were so well-rounded, but also so dynamic and represented so many different things. Like each character was just so the best word that I can use to describe these characters is dynamic. That's just who those characters are. They are just dynamic. I loved every single second of that book. That book was spicy, that book was funny, that book was heart-wrenching. That book was just overall one of the best books that I read this month, and let me say that's really high rating considering what I did read this month. So I genuinely, this is the first contemporary romance that I have read by Rebecca Yarros. I have been putting the contemporary romances off for way too long, and I finally ended up picking this one up while I was at my in-laws for New Year's. So I finally picked it up while I was at my family's, and I loved it so much. It was so good. I would highly recommend that one. Excuse me. And then we jumped into a banned book, Looking for Alaska by John Green. I highly recommend reading a banned book right now. Anyway, we read Looking for Alaska in the month of January. This book was so good. I forgot how crazy this book is. I have a video of me reading this book, so I'm not going to dive too much into it, but I did say in that video that I feel like I probably just spark noted this and cheated the class during that section because I genuinely don't remember. I didn't remember what had happened in this book. And this is a book, this has a plot, this has a storyline that if you read it, there's no way that you could forget it. So I clearly spark noted this book and cheated the class. But that book follows a group of high schoolers, a group of young adults that are at a boarding school, and they all have their own little niche in the group. Is niche the word I'm looking for? I guess you could use niche. Anyway, I feel like each of our characters have their own addition to this friend group. Like each character has their own thing, and our main male character, I'm pretty sure his name's Miles, is obsessed with famous last words, so that is his niche. If you ask Miles what this person's last words were, he will know them. And Alaska is kind of the intrusive thoughts personified character. So we just get a really well-rounded group of friends in this story. And I did also mention in the video that I have of me reading that book that if you are my younger audience, I know that you're there, you know I know you're there. Please, if you are going to dabble into these books, please have a trusted adult sitting next to you so that whenever you have questions, you have someone that you can go to, because Looking for Alaska in particular deals with grief. It deals with some pretty heavy topics that I would not recommend a younger demographic going into by themselves. I feel like if you have someone older that you can trust, this is one of those moments where I would recommend you ask them to sit next to you. But that is all I will say about Looking for Alaska. We did rate that book a 5-star. I love banned books. I usually am rating a banned book 5 stars. I can't help it. The next book that we read in the month of January was Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I don't know how I'm just now realizing this, but I had one of the best reading months ever. It's gonna be hard for like the rest of this year to top my reading month this month, but I'm getting off topic. I loved Anxious People. I rated this a 5-star. This book follows a group of 6 strangers. This book follows a group of 8 strangers, and all of these strangers are at a apartment looking. Is that what it's called? It's basically just like you're going to look at the apartment that you might end up grabbing, you might end up purchasing. So they are all at this apartment viewing. That's the word I was looking for. Something crazy happens, and instead they all get held hostage while they are in this apartment viewing. And this book ends up being a story about strangers who share empathy. So this basically is, imagine that 8 different groups of life came together in one room, and they all had something shared going on, and they all wanted the same outcome from this situation. All of these bodies of life are able to come together and work together to do this one thing. And I think that it's really just a beautiful story about being a human, and just, I don't know how to put my thoughts into words, but I genuinely loved this book. This book was a 5-star. I will be thinking about this book for a very long time. This book was also very devastating. The reason I say devastating, and the way I'm saying devastating, is the fact that at the end of this book, there is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline numbers. So it really deals with some pretty heavy things. So once again, if you're my younger audience, I might have someone like maybe look through it, or at least be sitting next to you while you read it. But regardless, Anxious People was a 5-star. I want to watch the show because there is a show adaptation, so I do want to watch the show eventually. But then, oh, this is gonna get on my nerves. Hold on. Can we not come up with a better way of putting price tags on books?
Stop doing the things that we're doing currently, this is genuinely one of my biggest pet peeves.
Well, while I'm trying to get the sticker off, what did you guys read this month? What was your favorite book that you read this month? What was your least favorite book that you read this month? Let me know down in the comments. Son of a bitch, bro. That's as good as it's gonna get, but now the damn heater's on, so. The last book that I read in the month of January was Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. We rated this book 3.75. I know, yikes. The reason that I rated this so low was not because of the story, was not because of the plot, was not because of the characters, was not because of the writing. All of that was phenomenal. I have read a few books by Stephanie Garber. I've enjoyed most of her books like pretty decently. This one though felt so surface level. Like, I feel like our characters never changed. Our characters never had any arc to them. They were all just so very flat. Like, everything about this story just fell flat for me. It felt surface level. It felt like nothing mattered because everything was so surface level. Another thing that I have to say is that the magic in this kind of makes no sense. Like, I was just really genuinely confused, and the ending of this story was absolutely outrageous. I was so unsatisfied. I'm still unsatisfied. I genuinely could not have been more irritated at the way that a book has ended than I was about this one. And like, yeah, leave a book open for a second book if that's the way that you want to go about things. But like, you could have just, I don't know, given extra, because what we got in this was just not it. It was just not it. We rated it a 3.75 though. So I'm going to get into the confession portion of this video, which is kind of that I kind of pivoted during some of my reads. Like Stephanie Garber, The Alchemy of Secrets was not on my TBR for the month of January, but it has been a book that my eyes keep getting like pulled to every single time that I walk by it. My eyes are like, Alchemy of Secrets. So I finally just picked it up because I wanted something different. I've been feeling like I've been reading a lot of contemporary fictions. I've been reading a lot of fiction. I've been reading, well, a lot of sports romance at the moment because, well, it's hockey romance season. So I just felt like I needed like something different, and what I did was picked up Alchemy of Secrets. So I did have like a mid-month pivot, but like I had the intention, I think is where I was at. My fiance yelled for me and now I was like lost my train of thought. But I had the intention of picking up my next January TBR pick, but I just really just kept eyeballing Alchemy of Secrets, so I ended up picking it up because I felt like if I had picked up the next book that was on my TBR, I would have ended up not enjoying it as much as I could have because my mood was not to read that book. Yeah, that's really like pretty much the biggest issue that I had this month, was that during the middle of the month I kind of just pivoted. I felt like I wanted to read something different than what was on my TBR. But these are the books that we read in the month of January. I really did have such a fun reading month. I had a pretty diverse reading month as well. I had a contemporary romance, a banned book, a contemporary fiction, and a fantasy. So I had a pretty well-rounded month. I really did enjoy these reads. So let me know down in the comments what you guys read this month. Let me know what your favorite book, what your most hated book was in the month of February, in the month of January. Let me know what your most anticipated read for the month of February is, and make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you leave that comment downstairs. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.